Thank you, gentlemen, for appearing here today. And General Semonite, thank you very much. It's really good to see you again. And given the topic of today's hearing, of course, I'd like to continue the conversation that we've been having regarding the Cedar Rapids Flood Risk Management Project. And what I'd like to do is just share with everyone here today, those on the committee, and of course, those of you on the panel and in the audience, that the September 2016 floods, which impacted Cedar Rapids, where the Cedar River crested at a level second only to the 2008 500-year flood event, caused Cedar Rapids to lose $26 million in sales and production due to being essentially shut down for an entire week when they were evacuated due to the floods. And as I have mentioned to you before, the city of Cedar Rapids is our second largest city, and its success is critical to the entire economic well-being of the state of Iowa. Now, there are products that Cedar Rapids produces and manufactures that have domestic and global impacts, just to share with everyone. For example, breakfast cereal manufacturers in Cedar Rapids produce 13% of total U.S. output. Industry in Cedar Rapids also processes as much as 19% of the global oat crop in value-added manufacturing per year. Wet corn milling in Cedar Rapids accounts for 8% of U.S. domestic ethanol production, and the quantity of corn processed each year in Cedar Rapids exceeds the size of the domestic corn crop of Canada, the Republic of South Africa, or the Russian Federation. That's a lot of corn, folks. These are all products and goods that at some point or another rely on the core infrastructure to move. And with that being said, I did notice a couple of provisions that I mentioned to you earlier in the omnibus explanatory statement for the core that I think could apply to a community like Cedar Rapids. There seems to be new provisions in the core work plan that requires you to provide Congress with more descriptions of the rating systems used to evaluate projects and explain why certain projects were considered as being less competitive. I also saw the provision that said, in quotes, administration budget metrics shall not be a reason to disqualify a study or project from being funded. We think that's a great step forward. Can I take this as a sign that the Corps and the administration are looking to improve its system that calculates the economic benefits of flood control projects? And will you commit to continuing to work to make sure that we are able to move the Cedar Rapids flood mitigation project forward in fiscal year 2018?
Senator, thanks for that question, and you and I have talked several times on this, and we are in awe of the people of Cedar Rapids that were very heroic back in that flood fighting. That is not a position that we should put Americans into, to have to be able to fight for their lives. On the other hand, this is a project which unfortunately doesn't rise high when it comes to the current method for racking and stacking projects with respect to the benefit-cost ratio. So we are committed to do everything we can to continue to champion that project, and the Corps will certainly do that. I don't know exactly on how it's going to fall out in the rest of that process.
Well, we do have to continue pushing, because as I went through all of these different examples of what passes through Cedar Rapids on a daily basis, the impact to the economics of the state is pretty clear. And when you're comparing the cost of the property in Iowa, it's much lower than the cost of a property on the coastline. Of course, you've got great, big, beautiful million-dollar homes, but that doesn't mean to a person living in Iowa that their home is worth any less to them. It's just based on what everybody else believes the value of a home is. So we do have to consider that. And just as a reminder, the assistance that Cedar Rapids needs from the Corps is just 3% of the cost of damages that it went through in 2008. So we need to continue pushing this issue. I look forward to more conversations with you in the future and a way forward for the people of Cedar Rapids. Thanks, you, General.